All right, we are live.
Greetings, everyone. It is I, Senor Silverback himself, the supreme ape lord, the lord of all his surveys, with the main man, the master of the flux capacitor, the dynamic duo who is one half of this team, and the producer extraordinaire himself, CJ. And we are breaking down the news, the views, and all the information that's important to you. You can check us out on roguemoney.net. And you can find us and follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money. Check us out on Fakebook, Rogue Money over there. And most importantly, check us out on Rogue Money on Steemit, Rogue Money on DTube, Rogue Money on every single podcasting app known to mankind. Tune in, Shoutcast, this, that, and the other. We're there. And even check us out on Apple News. Also, folks, check out our sponsors. It's all in one place. Whether you need the gold USB in order to go incognito online with full 1024-bit elliptical grade military encryption. In other words, good luck for somebody trying to break it, all right? And you need to secure your Bitcoin wallet, all right? And you need to surf anonymously. Go to remaincom.net. Remaincom.net is going to be your one-stop shop from here on out, folks, for the gold USB. Or you need to get your credit fixed. You need to get out of debt. Somebody's trying to sue you, and you want to make sure your assets are protected. Or heck, you just need protection, because I think everybody should have some sort of a protection set up just in case. Maybe in the future somebody wants to sue you for $1 million. This way you can just laugh at them. Go to remaincom.net. Or, you got no debt issues or whatnot. You just need funding, whether it's personal funding or business funding. Get up to $600,000 unsecured from their network of over 335 lenders. Remaincom.net. With that all out of the way, CJ, what's crack-a-lackin'?
We were talking before the show started in regards to food and chicken, and I'm just ready now for lunch. I'm like, ready to just. I had an apple and a banana for breakfast, and my coffee and water now, and I'm realizing that I am starved right now.
yeah, dude. I'm like still on my second cup of coffee, and I'm just like, I'm doing this for lunch. I'm gonna give me some chicken and waffles. I'm gonna give me some barbecue chicken, maybe some brisket. I'm gonna pound out a big lunch. I'm gonna do this Colombian style where you eat like a monster lunch, and then you eat like a light dinner. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I don't even bother eating breakfast. I call it intermittently fasting. So we got time for breakfast. I don't know how people eat breakfast. If I do grab something, it's like something small. I don't know how people have big breakfasts. Like when you wake up early in the morning, you want to have a big breakfast. I think I'll vomit. I think I'll puke.
Yeah, I just go straight for brunch. I would just have something, a big 10, 11 o'clock, and then just skip everything the rest of the day. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
But I will tell you a really quick funny story while we're talking about food and shows and everything. So yesterday I was talking with my in-laws, and they really thought that they're for a minute that Hulk Hogan was on the program in the morning.
They really did?
They really did. They're like, there's no way that Hulk Hogan's on that program. But we had them going until they finally like, wait a minute, that does kind of sound like me. But yeah, so it was hilarious.
Well, brother. What you gonna do, brother, when the largest orange in the world runs wild on you?
Well, you know what I want to do is I think we need to put you on tour. Between Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Hulk, Bill Clinton. I mean, there's enough there. We could do an entire show. We could just start a circuit, and maybe on Thursday or Friday fly to a different state and do a show, and then fly back home on the weekends or something. We could make it happen.
We should charge $10 a ticket, and all the proceeds goes to the veterans. How about that? That'd be fun.
There we go.
Yeah. We'll do it out in a park because we'll be so broke we won't be able to afford host it in a venue. We'll do it out in like a park, like in some public space. We'll have just enough money to purchase a permit.
Yeah.
Coming
and maybe some water.
Ghetto near you, V and CJ. We're like wearing flak jackets while we're standing out of some park in Chicago near Cabrini Green or something like that. We're wearing flak jackets and a helmet. Oh my God. We're broadcasting live from 8 Mile Road in Detroit.
They got to get the news from somewhere, their information from somewhere, V, and they might as well get it with the fun and character and flair.
Yeah. Well, we're not there yet, but one day One day we may. One day we may fill out an auditorium, maybe like a Madison Square Garden or something. You never know, Siege. We're in the infancy stages of this monster.
That's
That's the
true.
beautiful
That is
part
very
about this.
true.
We're in the infancy stages of this monster, and it's like, you know what? We got something special here, man. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Oh, good stuff, brother. Anyway, man,
Yeah.
let's jump into
Lots
it,
going
brother.
on.
Lots going
Let's
on
do it.
indeed.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, dude. Now, I talked about this. I prophesied about this back in 2014, and it's come to pass play by play exactly how I said it. When Venezuela first started hitting its crisis, okay, and really started hitting that inflection point in 2014, I said a couple of things. I said, number one, China and Russia are going to come to assist, but they will only assist the industrial aspects and those who are the industrial leadership of Venezuela, i.e., their petroleum company, PDVSA. Okay, so and I predicted that in 2014. In 2000 and late 2016 into earlier of this year, 2017, it's been revealed that's exactly what China and Russia is doing right now. They're moving in to help them. In 2014, I also said that because this was also the time that Venezuela was toying with the idea of selling off their gold reserves to Goldman Sachs and back to the Bank of England, which is a stupid move by Nicholas the Sweetness, the bus driver Maduro. Okay, and it really backfired on him big time, and it's really put him in a place of impoverishment because he had to he had to raise his forex reserves. In other words, i.e., get more dollars in order to buy more plantains for his people. Even though Venezuela is a country that is rich in resources, has lush rainforests, you can pretty much grow any damn thing you want in Venezuela. The soil's so damn rich, but the people have somehow forgotten how to farm and be self-sufficient. Gee, that's what happens in a socialist society. But anyway, Nicholas the Sweetness Maduro did the kiss of death and try to get on with the dollar system. And I said back in 2014 that Venezuela will de-dollarize, and there will come a point they will no longer accept dollars for oil payments. And I also said that you could probably expect this to happen after there's a change in the paradigm, right? Where the dollar becomes less popular. You're going to see Venezuela finding its cojones. It's going to reach deep within its little socialist skirt, okay, and find two shriveled up little cojones, and they'll realize that these little two shriveled up cojones that have been drained dry because of socialism, all right, this is they're going to go ahead and they're going to de-dollarize. When they see larger countries like China, when they see Turkey, when they see places like Saudi Arabia having murmurings of leaving the dollar, they're going to do it. And CJ, it has come out today that Venezuela has stopped accepting dollars for oil payments. Break it down, brother.
I think Venezuela's ready for a little bit of freedom and democracy, courtesy of the United States.
Courtesy of the United States. Surely the end of the dollar clock, the doomsday clock on the dollar, on the petrodollar most specifically, is 1 minute before midnight at this point. Folks, I said last week when CJ and I reported upon the massive move that China has done, that it was not the fat lady it is literally the fat lady clearing her throat about to sing. It's almost over. And because of the bedlam and mayhem what we've seen here, okay, that we've seen here in this country, the bedlam and the mayhem, we know for certain, okay, that we have hastened. And the rest of the world's looking at the chaos here in a place like D.C., and you see the Republicrats fighting the Democrats. And they see that, you know what, the United States is not a reliable partner. It says one thing and does something else. Or there's massive infighting. It is disjointed. It cannot be trusted. The rest of the world is moving on. They don't want our toxic currency anymore. The United States dollar, the American dollar, because of quantitative easing, because of stimulus, because of bailouts like TARP, what they've effectively done, they have made the U.S. dollar the most toxic asset in the world. Thus, anything denominated in dollars, whether it be a stock, a bond, a derivative, no matter what it is, no matter what it's priced in, has in itself become, through financial metastasis, a toxic cancer in the entire global system. The global economic organism has been suffering a cancerous tumor called the dollar. And now, thanks to Russia, thanks to China, thanks to Turkey, thanks to the BRICS Plus, it is that tumor is being excised. That is where we are today, folks. Huge news. Venezuela is going to implement a new system of international payments. How will they create a system of international payments, CJ? Could it be they're using China's SIPs?
Very possible. Yeah, I mean, the infrastructure is there for it already.
And they will create a basket of currencies to free us from the dollar. Gee, I wonder what the basket of currencies they use. Could it be the ruble and the yuan?
Possibly.
Could there be some crypto plays in there? Maduro said in a multi-hour address to new legislative superbody, he reportedly did not provide details of this new proposal. If they pursue us with the dollar, here we go. Just like the fantastic ape has said, when the ape lord was the only one screaming in the wilderness about this back in 2014. This is from the very mouth of Nicholas the Sweetness Maduro, aka the bus driver. If they pursue us with the dollar, we will use the Russian ruble, the yuan, the yen, the Indian rupee, and the euro. Boom.
Yeah, this should be obviously a very clear, wake-up call, but unfortunately it won't, primarily because those in Washington, D.C., those elected officials that sit in the aisles have no understanding that we are in a multipolar world, that the world has changed, that for so long that the U.S. that we thought we were able to influence, and now how we're doing that is by is there any countries out there that we don't have some form of sanctions against anymore? I mean, sanctions against Russia.
Dude, we are the asshole on the world stage. That is what we are. And my hope and prayer for the America is, please, it's like what my father has told me when I was young, don't be an asshole your entire life. That's what we are. We are the asshole on the world stage. We're the jerk. We're the bully. I mean, we have literally ruined relationships throughout the world. We are the dysfunctional, untrustworthy, unreliable curmudgeon. That's who we are. And the world is sick of it, man. The world is sick of it. The world is sick of us crapping on them for so many decades, abusing our position, not in benevolent ways that helps the world in development, but in malevolent ways that robs the world of development, that stymies the growth of the world. We've allowed Nazis, for lack of a better word, Nazis, to control our foreign policy. We've allowed Nazis to control our domestic policy. And now we are not only reaping what we've sowed, and what we've sowed is this: we have proven ourselves what happens when we're a society that has forgotten to be vigilant and educated. Folks, let me tell you something. Our founding fathers were correct. The type of government we have is only for an educated and religious population that fears God. There is no fear of God anymore. There's just simply fear of fear. There's just fear for, fear is fashionable, fear sells. There's fear of nothing in some cases. There's no morals, there's no restraints. So the bedrocks of civilizations have been cast off, and what we are left with is malarkey, madness, social engineering, and absolute dilapidated minds amongst us in the Western world. And that's why I've said before, CJ, when you look at Pantifa and when you look at the social justice warriors and these retarded, I'm not talking about actual mental retardation, I'm talking about these stupid kids who go to college and get degrees in gay art therapy and wonder why they're not getting a $100,000 a year job. Those retards, okay? When you look at those kids, you realize that these fools have become the inheritors of Western civilization. Do you guys realize this? We are the last bastion. America is pretty much the last holdout where there is actual resistance, okay? Real resistance to this Soviet style, liberal, suicidal, self immolating culture that the far left has embraced, that has swept all over Europe. And we're the main pocket of resistance. The biggest resistance points to our revolution is Washington, D.C. and Wall Street. If you do not cast off the restraints of Wall Street, if you do not hobble Wall Street, and I'm talking about take Wall Street, throw it on the bed, take 2 wooden blocks, put it on each leg, and then hit their legs with a sledgehammer, i.e., just like that movie Misery, okay? Where the crazy lady broke the guy's legs by hobbling him. That's what we need to do with these banksters. I'm not talking about physically to do this, but in a metaphorical way of reducing their economic power and what they are able to do. That is what needs to be done, number one. Number two, term limits need to be imposed upon congressmen and senators. We do not need another John McCain rising for the next 40 years. We do not need a Chuck E. Cheese Schumer or a brain-dead, demented Nancy Pelosi or a Maxine Crazy Waters. We don't need any of these Mitch McConnells and Paul, stick a knife in your back, Ryan. We don't need any of these snake oil salesmen and lawyers. We need change. I want to tell you right now, fellow Americans, if you're not willing to put maximum effort into this 2018 midterm elections, this is the major purge, and I've been saying this for quite some time. If we do not get these guys out of office come 2018 midterm election, then all is lost. Okay, you're going to have the same characters, nothing will be accomplished, and Trump cannot do what he needs to do to get us in a position that will better help this country. That is why the 2018 midterm elections is so critical. Everybody needs to get out there and vote these incumbents out of office. They all need to go, and we need to start demanding term limits because it's over. Playtime is over. There's a certain type of psychopath, not sociopath, but psychopath that is attracted to lifelong politics. Only the most criminally insane wind up in these types of political offices. We need to end that. So if we don't push this through, come 2018, we will be bleeding in the streets. Understand that, folks. We don't bleed now to get this done. We'll be bleeding later, and our children will be bleeding later. So let's get it together.
Yeah, no, well said. And one of the unfortunate parts, V, is that a lot of people do not understand money, how money works, how for several years documenting, and there's a great article written by F. William, is it Engdahl?
Yeah, Engdahl. We need to get him on, Siege.
Engdahl.
Yeah, see, did you reach out to him and see if we can get him on?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's amazing.
Absolutely.
He's a scholar. I love his work. I'm a big fan of his.
It's truly just an amazing, it's an easy read, but he really details out just the history of the currency, everything from, Bretton Woods to, the gold standard, the trust that was in place with the United States, that the world allowed us to have the reserve currency, and how it's supposed to work, in our guarantees, and the last several decades, that has been corroded over time. This isn't something that just happened overnight, folks. This is something that there's been warnings, there's been rumblings for years on end, and that is what has forced these countries, China, Russia, into creating new systems, circumventing, and at the same time not being arrogant about it, pleading their case as to why it's important to diversify in terms of the monetary system, the reserve currencies that are available. They've done all this all at the same time. Yep. With a handout to us. Okay, they have reached out and said, listen, and they are still doing it. Come along with us. Understand what the One Belt, One Road is. Understand that the world is changing and it's time to do this. And we just keep doubling and tripling down. And North Korea is another a perfect example with these sanctions that are passed that at the end of the day harm the people more than it does the political class and political leaders. All outside all other issues, throw all out, whether Kim Jong-un's a maniac, whatever else. But that's what we do. We pass these sanctions in hopes of, and it's really used as economic warfare. And these countries, Venezuela are fighting back. They're standing up and saying no more, no more. And we Americans need to learn that as well. We need to take a page out of that book to say no more as well. We're tired of this. We're tired of all the empty promises that are made. The term limits. The fact that we just witnessed that senators signed up across both aisles, signed on for these endless wars. That there was no courage in DC to understand what is happening. There's no knowledge. Because why? Because they want to protect their political class. They want to keep this going, this charade going, of understanding that Americans are never going to wake up. And in one part, they're correct. People are so plugged into getting their news from their television and getting their news from other service sources that are just strictly focused on U.S. based social issues, things that are happening. And until that happens, until we get society, we get humanity to wake up and say no more, and join along with these nations and say, you know what, we were wrong. I'm sorry. We've made huge mistakes. How can we turn this around? This is going to harm every American. No one is going to be immune from this. This is going to spread to everyone. That in the event that when the dollar is devalued and when it's being rejected on mass scale, yep. And no one really understands what that's going to look like.
No, and that's the entire point, because our arrogance, because these things have occurred because you'd had decade after decade after decade of wanton abuse, and when you've abused something for this long and for this far, it's become a systemic and systematic problem. Okay, so I mean, look at it, right? It was until recently, like what Mr. Engdahl is saying over here, until recently, Washington think tanks and the government have sneered at Eurasian institutions like the SCO, which is a Shanghai Cooperative Organization. Unlike BRICS, which is not made up of a contiguous countries in a vast landmass, SCO groups form a geographic entity called Eurasia. And what did I tell you? Remember the guy who wrote the book, the technocrat himself who wrote the book, okay, called The Grand Chessboard, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who is now dead, and may he rest in pieces. May your soul burn in hell eternally and forever, Ziggy. I hope you're being roasted on a spit. But Ziggy Brzezinski, who's now with David Rockefeller in the 36th Chamber of Hell at this point, one of the things Brzezinski said is that the chessboard has failed. Why? Because back in the 80s and 90s, Ziggy and the Trilaterals, you got to understand why the Trilateral Commission was set up. It was set up for two things. Number one, the social engineering on, New World Order BS. The main indicative understanding of why the Trilaterals was really set up is this, guys. It is to contain Eurasia, to prevent Russian influence. Okay? Why? Why is Russia So dangerous. Why? I mean, think about it. All throughout Russian history, guys, they've either been sanctioned or they've been at war with the West. Something's always happening. Why do they fear Russia? Why do they hate Russia? Let me explain to you why. Okay, from 99.99999999999% of us in the Western world, we're taught that when the Roman Empire collapsed, that was it. Then we fell into the Dark Ages, and all you're taught about is the Dark Ages of history in Europe, where people were living in squalor and there was serfdom and neo-feudalism, and it was pretty much hell on earth. It was just the stupidest time on planet Earth. The Catholic Church was out of control. That you have the craziest popes in the world have come to power. You had the reign of the harlots, where prostitutes were sleeping with the Pope, and then telling the Pope what to do in terms of church policy. I think it was a whore and her mother moved into the Vatican. I mean, the most insane crap amongst a whole bunch of other stuff that was happening in the Dark Ages. But when the Roman Empire collapsed, there was another side of the Roman Empire that nobody talked about, which is Byzantium, the Byzantine Empire. Okay, and the Byzantine Empire is what basically the inheritors of the Byzantine Empire are the Russians. So this Dark Ages crap that was happening in the middle, in the Middle Ages in Europe, you don't see that in Russia. Russia was still a very vibrant, affluent, they're very American, believe it or not. They're all about the individualism, maverick spirit, the whole nine yards. And you see the flourishing of Russian culture, Russian art, Russian everything, and the globalists needed to end that. And they created what was called the Bolshevik, or I call it the bullshit revolution, the Bolshevik revolution, okay? And the Bolshevik revolution was done by who? Non-Russians. Lenin wasn't Russian. Neither was Tolstoy. These are all Western stooges backed by Wall Street banks. Okay? All right? And I can prove that to you. Because when that happened, right here in the United States, when the Bolshevik Revolution happened, we passed a law called Trading with the Enemy Act. So no money could be traded to Russia or given to Russian companies, Russian financing. But yet, there was billions of dollars leaving Wall Street and going into Russia, because once the Bolshevik Revolution started, important things to Russian industry, like the pneumatic drills that they needed for oil drilling, these all ceased. Because at that time, there was a brain drain. The smart people saw what was happening and be like, oh no, we don't want to be part of this Bolshevik Revolution, these crazy sycophant communists. We're out of here. And they left, they escaped. So you left was the poor and the underclass that couldn't have the luxury of leaving. They didn't know how to operate this. So Western money financed the restarting of those oil wells, of those factories, of so many things to rebuild the industry of the Soviet Union, so they could have this false enemy built up. And then after the whole shenanigans that occurred under Stalin, where he tried to kill Tolstoy, the whole entire thing, right? Stalin is not even Russian. He was Georgian. Okay? And so this is the whole entire... They've always been trying to screw with Russia. And what do you see Russia today? Do you guys realize this? Russia is the last bastion of Christianity on this earth. It is the last bastion of real traditional Christianity left on planet Earth. I'll be honest with you. Okay? It is. They're defending human life. They're defending having children. They're defending marriage. They're not into all this crazy crap that we're into. Okay? That's why they hate it. And they're strong people with a strong cultural identity that are not sold out to this globalist nonsense. And that's why these globalists fear them. And so that's why they've always been trying to control them. And even with that, CJ, with all the stuff that Russia's been through, you're still willing to work with us because they understand. They're pragmatic about it. They're not going to harbor feelings. You effed us over so many times. We're not going to deal with you guys, or you're going to screwed us over. No. The entire step, China and Russia has said to the United States, come join us. We can make the world a better place. You know what the United States? F you! Because we are the belligerent asshole on the world stage.
Yeah, you're right on the money on that. And then you factor in that what do? We raise our debt past $20 trillion, and there's no insight with that. Yeah, we can.
CJ, you're talking about sound economics again. CJ, see, don't you know we can give $1,000 to everybody per month and raise our economy 12% overnight if we wanted to? I mean, if we have 200 trillion of debt, that means we're 200 trillion richer. Our GDP's grows.
We should really just go ahead and tack on. We should just go ahead and tack on free insurance for everyone. You know, Bernie's up there yesterday touting universal health care. So let's just go ahead and put that on the tab as well.
Might as well. I think instead of $1,000 a month, everybody should get $10,000 a month. Let's take the ultimate welfare state experiment to its ultimate fulfillment. Let's give everybody 10 grand a month. Everybody makes $100,000 a year on government handouts. Why not?
Well, think of GDP. Think of how much GDP would go because of that.
It'll raise 1,000%. It'll be 1,000% raise in GDP because all we will do is just sit around and play Xbox all day long. That's it, and pick lint out of our belly buttons. That's all.
And you know, while we're there, you know that inflation's going to go up too, and that's what we want. We want massive inflation. We want that. That's good for the economy.
Yes, inflation's excellent for the economy. It's wonderful, and when it's high, we'll just tell the people that it's low, and the people will believe it. Because the idiot people who buy ground beef one month at $1 a pound is buying it next month at $5 a pound, and we tell them inflation's low. It's no problem. There's no inflation, and they'll tell them every year it's only 2%. In reality, it's over 10. And when we give a 10 grand away per month to customers, we'll have 1,000. We'll have like Venezuela, Zimbabwe style inflation. Yes, it all makes sense now, CJ.
Yeah, I think it's a great equation. I think let's go for it.
I think Bernie Sanders would improve. And here's the whole thing with this article, man. According to a report in the Asia Review, which we talked about this, CJ. Okay, the China's about to launch a crude oil future contract denominated in Chinese yuan that will be convertible into gold. This, when coupled with the other moves over the past 2 years by China to become a viable alternative. Not only is it viable, but the only alternative, the only real alternative to London and New York, to Shanghai, becomes really interesting. China is the world's largest importer of oil. The vast majority of it's still paid in US dollars. If the yuan oil futures contract gains wide acceptance, which it will, folks, it will become the most important Asia-based crude oil benchmark, given that China is the world's biggest oil importer. That would challenge the two Wall Street dominated oil benchmark contracts, the North Sea Brent and the West Texas Intermediate oil futures, that until now has given Wall Street huge hidden advantages. That would be one more huge manipulation lever eliminated by China and its oil partners, including, very specifically, Russia, which is the largest oil producer on planet Earth. Introduction of an oil futures contract traded in Shanghai in the yuan, which recently gained membership in the select IMF SDR group of currencies, oil futures, especially when convertible into gold, could change the geopolitical balance of power dramatically away from the Atlantic world into Eurasia. Okay, China has established a vast storage center in the Chinese Quanai Free Trade Zone next to Shenzhen. And I told you about Shenzhen, folks, many times on this broadcast. That is the Silicon Valley of China.
Yep.
That is the only place where CJ and I could we could draft a blueprint of a cell phone today, and then in 2 days, we have a working model in our office, and CJ and I could market the Gorilla phone worldwide and make a killing. Shenzhen's the only place they can do it. Not even Silicon Valley. Nowhere in the United States comes close to that. Nowhere in the world comes close to that. Okay? The city of 18 million, immediately north of Hong Kong on the Pearl River Delta. And now China is completing construction of a permanent gold vault facility, including a bonded warehouse, trading floor, and related office areas. The 105-year-old Hong Kong-based Chinese Gold and Silver Exchange Society is in joint project with ICBC, China's largest bank and the largest bank in the world and the largest gold importing bank in the world, to create the Quanghai Storage Center. It begins to become very clear why Washington's deceptive NGOs, such as the National Endowment of Democracy, tried unsuccessfully to create an anti-Beijing color revolution, the umbrella revolution in Hong Kong in late 2014. Now to add the new oil futures contract traded in China in yuan with gold backing will lead to the dramatic shift by key OPEC members, even in the Middle East, which is why King Salman is meeting with Vlad Putin to prefer a gold-backed yuan for their oil over the inflated, worthless, toxic dollars that carry geopolitical risk, as Qatar experienced following the Trump visit to Riyadh some months ago. Notably, Russian state oil giant Rosneft just announced that Chinese state oil company CEFC, China Energy Company Ltd, just bought a 14% share of Rosneft from Qatar. It's all beginning to fit together in a very coherent strategy. The dollar imperium is in its painful death agony, and its patriarchs are in reality denial. Good, let them be. Otherwise known as the Trump presidency. Meanwhile, the saner elements of this world are about building constructive, peaceful alternatives that are open to admit Washington under honest rules to join them. That's remarkably generous, isn't it? Exactly the point. You want to be see. That's what we don't want, CJ. Washington doesn't want honest, open rules. They don't want any rules. They want to be the ones who write the rule book and then violate it anytime they seek.
Yeah, not when you can go to DC and make a modest salary, and by the time that you're done in your political office, you're a multimillionaire. V, why would we want to change that system for them?
Exactly. Look, man, here's the deal. When you got all the stuff that's happening in this world, the dollar's dying, and you got idiots out there like Jamie Dimon, who's out there bashing Bitcoin. If Jamie Dimon is out there bashing Bitcoin, you better bet your bottom dollar that Bitcoin is doing something right. You better bet your bottom dollar that it's real. You better bet your bottom dollar that it is a real threat to the banking industry.
Yeah, and please don't take this as financial advice. However, I think it's very important, V, that you start to take a look at some of these. There's options out there. I mean, you take a look at the gold and the price rigging. And there was a recent UBS trader that was just arrested and charged. Oh yeah,
but there's no gold. There's no gold manipulation.
None, right?
Jeff Christian on Kitco the other day said there's no such thing as gold manipulation. I had to kick him in the nuts. Go ahead, Siege.
He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah. So this again, if you remember, I think it was back in 14. I should just go to the article that there had been already a previous arrest from no other than Deutsche Bank, right? One of the traders there was arrested and charged with his role in the spoofing contracts of the metals, and he was arrested. Mm-hmm. So this other trader from UBS, who had been, I guess apparently he had been on like leave of absence. Like when you look at this article, he put he put leave of absence effective back in 2014, and it looks like maybe he's been on the run ever since then. But they would purposely, and they have a chart here to show specifically when they would just slam the market with all these contracts that they would throw up that were just meaningless, just for the sole purpose of driving down the price. And again, for someone to come out and say that there was no manipulation, and now we have one, not but two, and that there should be several other arrests, because that there were several other people that knew specifically why this was happening, and they wanted it to happen.
Exactly correct. But there's no gold manipulation because Jeff Christian said so, CJ. Even though this guy just went to jail for gold rigging from one of our favorite criminal banks, UBS, okay, which Brad Birkenfeld, our buddy Brad, my good friend, hates UBS. And, the more things are going to be done to UBS, he has a major lawsuit against them. It's going to be huge, okay? And even though Deutsche Bank just settled out of court for $150 million for gold and silver rigging, okay, settled in court. I'm sorry, not out of court, but they settled in court for gold rigging and silver rigging. But these things don't exist because Jeff Christian said so. This is the stupidity that's out there. Think about it, CJ. If you and I were on this desk and we had Jeff Christian, and you asked Jeff Christian, I'm sitting there with my hands folded, and you asked Jeff Christian, so Jeff, is there gold rigging? And then Jeff Christian says, well, of course that's nonsense. You know what? I would just reach across and slap him. Every time he would say, I just slap him, like really hard, and then watch his hair fly up a little bit. I mean, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, so here's a couple of perfect examples, right? So when you take a look at the charges that are listed here, V, of everything he's charged, from everything from wire fraud to look at the amount of charges that they racked up against this guy. Just truly amazing, and this uncovers a lot of what everyone was stating years back regarding the manipulation of the pricing. So it's time to start again taking a look at viable options that are outside of the good old paperback, V.
Yep, absolutely correct, man. Absolutely correct. Anyway, brother, we got Trump continues to troll the GOP, which is great.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are missing the messaging. I was looking at the news today, and everyone's just, oh, well, they said we're not going to get our wall, and we're going to do all these things. Is that, listen, these moves that Trump is doing is just basically wanting to let the GOP establishment know that he's not playing games. That if Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell think that they're leading the way, they're the ones that are going to make the decisions, they have been absolutely failures this entire year. Now, with this deal and pivoting more towards the Democrats and coming out and saying, well, we need to take a look at potentially. Remember, Trump was handed this mess in regards to what Obama had passed before leaving office. Everyone knew, and we've stated this numerous times, V, over and over again. But you have to take a look at the big picture when you look at these quote unquote over 800,000 immigrants that are in this country and what to do with them. They're looking at this solely based upon one factor, and that's more tax money, more tax revenue, more money for their coffers. That's how they're looking at these things. Do you think that with our existing, population, everything, and not that I'm advocating paying off the debt, but they want to keep this game going, and the only way to do that is to get more people contributing to the system and paying into it.
Right. Absolutely right. So it just seems that the idiot party, as the world is completely divesting itself out of the dollar and getting itself away from the dollar in the U.S., and the U.S. is basically a broken empire. U.S. Senate votes against amendment to stop endless war in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, Rand Paul had, basically stated up there, he said, I'm not walking away from any, I'm not walking away giving you any move forward on any type of budget in regards to military spending until we add this amendment. And this amendment specifically has to deal with the 2001, 2002 authorization for military force. And this was pretty much greenlighting the efforts in Afghanistan and Iraq that have continued well over 16 years now. And in fact, they felt that this authorization that they've had from 2001 and 2002 gave them full out permission to go into Syria as well. This was one of the reasons they stated there that they were going into Syria.
Right.
So Rand Paul has simply stated that, that's ridiculous. Look, we're fighting a quote unquote a whole enemy that we created. He didn't specifically go out and say that, but that's what he meant. So he said, let's go ahead and let's call that back, and then let's take a look at something new. If we do have to authorize some type of intervention, what is that going to look like? And for so many years, we've always said, oh, the right is the war party, and not the left. The left of this. When you take a look at this amendment, and you take a look at the number of yays and the people that have signed up, B, there's over 61 senators, Republican and Democrat, that have signed on that shot this down, that said, you know what, we're not going to do this. We want to continue those war efforts from 2001 and 2002 because somehow they make sense, V.
Yep, it makes sense because it's perpetual war. Because the military industrial complex is, lines the coffers for these congressmen, and that's what they're all happy and giddy about it, man. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Anyway, it's terrible, bro. It's terrible. This is all we got to offer the world. It's more war. Well, where's this ISIS story going to lead them, CJ? When Russia and Syria is on the verge of crushing ISIS in Syria, what next? Ooh, ISIS is in Afghanistan. Fool me twice, not going to happen. Not going to happen. No one's going to buy ISIS is in Afghanistan. Then what? Ooh, ISIS is in Iran. Now we got to go into Iran. Yeah, good luck with that. These people are nuts, bro. I mean, again, this proves my point. Try to get a tax bill passed. Nobody's there. Can't find them. It's like crickets. Try to get Obamacare repealed. Can't find anybody. Crickets. Right? Get a bill into give themselves a raise. They're there instantly. Get a sanctions bill. I'm going to sanction Russia. All of a sudden, boom, they're right there. Swarming in the House, ready to vote. Say we're going to, have one Congress or one senator from Kentucky, which is Rand Paul, having some sense, saying, hey, let's get ourselves out of these stupid perpetual wars. I'm going to draft a bill to get us out. All of a sudden, stop the war. Here they come to vote down that bill. Oh, endless war. More war. These guys, I'm sick of it, dude. I'm absolutely sick of these guys. I'm sick of what they've done to this country. They've wrecked this country. They are the ones who have ruined it, and we're the idiots that put them there. Shame on us.
There is one thing that I truly enjoyed yesterday. There's one thing that I thought after, yesterday with Hump Day, with Bix, with your conversation, and reflecting back on all the massive crimes of J.P. Morgan under the direction of Jamie Dimon. There was one thing I truly enjoyed yesterday, and that was watching the public scolding, public spanking of Jamie Dimon yesterday. From about anyone and everyone was just massively just slamming him down, saying, as far as the cryptos and purposely, trying to manipulate and drive the price down.
Yep.
When he specifically knows in the back of his mind that this is a threat, that the cryptocurrencies are a threat to the financial institutions, that they probably are seeing dollars, pulled out of investments, right? Pulled back, whenever, previous client I used to had a while back reached out to me and said, help me understand this. Why in the last several years am I seeing like minimal gains? Like every time I look at my quarterly statement that comes out, I see, the buys and sells, and they're buying and selling the very same day. And then I'm looking at my fees that they're charging me for this. And he figured out his fees that he had paid. That's what they want to keep going. They want to keep that charade going in terms of the markets and propping it up. And, Diamond came out, I think last night and said, well, the quantitative easing, it was really going to affect, the markets. Well, no shit, Horseshack. Why do you think that they are today where they are? But it was truly enjoyable to see. And in terms of the cryptocurrencies, in Bitcoin in particular, even with the price drop, and people are like, oh, it's getting slammed down, everything. Market corrections happen across any trade, whether it's gold, silver, the market, the cryptocurrency space. These things are going to happen. Now, each person, again, like we've said numerous times, do your own homework. Do what's right for you and for your family. But with Jamie Dimon to come out, and again, these comments regarding Bitcoin in particular, to target them, from his character, just was truly just amazing to watch that. And I'm glad that he got that public scolding yesterday, and about every media angle that came out yesterday, whether it was alternative, whether it was the investments, regarding his comments. V.
Yep, absolutely, man. I was happy to to really see that as well, man. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like these guys talk like people are listening to them, that people actually count these guys as individuals who have some great idea, or they're experts, or they're, or trustworthy. Nobody likes you guys. Banksters are about as popular as politicians. We are sick of all of you. All of you are done. See, this is the part that these idiots don't understand, CJ. Okay? When the dust settles, okay? When the dust settles, and that's why I want more people involved in getting involved in alternative asset classes, and finding out how to develop themselves being wealthy, not just holding dollars, which is dangerous, okay, in the long run, okay? Because my whole thing is this, when the dust settles, guys like these politicians and these banksters and whatnot, they don't realize they're obsolete. Okay, the Western bankster, the Western politician, they're done. They're obsolete. They just don't realize it yet. They think they're going to still be in power, calling the shots on the other side of this thing. They're not. When this crap hits the fan, we're coming for you. Jamie, we're coming for you. Chucky, we're coming for you. Nancy, we're coming for you. Mitch and Paul and John and Lindsay and all the other idiots. We're coming for you guys. We know where you live. We know where your families are. We know what you do. Some of us even got your routine down day to day of where you're going and what you're doing. And you think Capitol Police is going to protect you when the crap finally hits the fan? And the American public wakes up and says, who screwed this whole entire thing up? That we're going to have some sort of mercy? Oh, no. We're not. We're not. And I'm reminded, okay, of have you heard of the Christopher Walken line speech, man?
Yeah.
From movie Pool Hall Junkies.
Right.
It's great. He says this. He says, you watch the nature documentaries on cable. You see the one about the lions. You got this lion. He's the king of the jungle. Huge mane out to here. He's laying under a tree in the middle of Africa. He's so big. It's so hot. He doesn't want to move. Now the little lions come, and they start messing with him. Biting his tail, biting his ear. He doesn't do anything. The lioness, she starts messing with him. Coming over, making trouble. Still nothing. Now the other animals, they notice this. They start to move in. The jackals, hyenas, they're barking at him, laughing at him. They nip at his toes. They eat the food that's in his domain. They do this. Then they get closer and closer, bolder and bolder, till one day that lion gets up and tears the shit out of everybody, runs like the wind, eats everything in his path. Because every once in a while, the lion has to show the jackals who he is. And that's what the American public is going to do to every single one of you politicians. Every single one of you banksters. Do not get it crossed. You might have pussified a great deal of this country. You might have made a great deal of our men into a bunch of beta male cucks and become gynocentric. But remember, it only took 3% of the population of men with balls, and we created a revolution in 1776 that is still talked about in the annals of history. Okay? I'm telling you right now, you keep pushing us, you're going to get us to wake up. And we're going to tear the crap out of you and eat everything in our path and rip you to shreds. Because we're going to remind you politicians, we're going to remind you deep staters what the American giant is all about. And that's a wrap.
1,000%. 1,000%.
With that being said, brother, we are all said and done. I don't know if we have Harley back today or not. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, it's a big day. It's a big day today. So 12 o'clock. Yeah, yeah. And then James put some great articles on roguemoney.net. So make sure to go check those out as well. And we'll be back at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time today.
Yep, absolutely. With that being said, folks, we are all said and done, and we will get back with you guys later. Check back with us again. Take it away, CJ.